The galaxy was old, filled with empires, trade routes, and ancient ruins. Across thousands of star systems, every species knew one simple law. A law that was never written, never signed, but always obeyed. Never step into human space. No council had made it. No empire enforced it. And yet, it was followed. Every navigator, every explorer, every merchant ship knew where human territory began. Star charts always marked it with a dark red zone. No one crossed that line. Traders would go around it, even if it meant longer journeys. Pirates refused to hide there. Even warlords stayed away. But the strange thing was, no one really knew why. Some said humans had destroyed themselves long ago. Others whispered that they were still alive, hiding, waiting. A few believed they had ascended into something beyond flesh. The stories were endless, but no one ever tried to find the truth. Fear alone was enough. Except for one small ship. The scout vessel Tarven was a light explorer craft, crewed by 6 aliens from different worlds. It was not a warship, not a trader, only a simple scout sent by its empire to map the outer lanes. Its mission was safe and ordinary. Or at least, it was supposed to be. On the 3rd cycle of its journey, a sudden burst of radiation struck its engines. The ship drifted off course, alarms screaming through the corridors. When the crew regained control, they realized something terrifying. They were near the border. On the main display, a red zone flickered, human space. Silence filled the cockpit. None of them spoke at first. Even though the border was still thousands of kilometers away, the very sight of it made their blood run cold. Finally, the captain, a tall insectoid named Caliph, clicked his mandibles. We turn back. Now. But the ship systems did not agree. Navigation was damaged. The radiation storm had pushed them too close. They would need time to repair engines, and until then, the Tarven would continue drifting, closer and closer to the forbidden line. The crew worked in panic. Tools clattered. Sparks lit the halls. They argued in low voices, blaming each other, cursing the storm. None dared say what they all feared. What if they crossed the line? Hours passed. The engines refused to stabilize. The border grew nearer. Then the sensors beeped. The crew froze. Something massive was ahead. Slowly, the display painted its shape, a starship. Not just any starship. An old one. Enormous. Battle-scarred. Silent. It was drifting on the edge of human space, half hidden in shadow. The crew stared. Their voices shook. Whose ship is that? Ancient design. Is it a human? They didn't want to believe it, but deep inside, they knew. The design was strange, brutal, unlike any modern vessel. Its armored hull was thick, scarred with blackened lines from countless battles. Many parts were broken, floating debris surrounding it like dead satellites. And yet, some lights still glowed faintly along its surface. Captain Caliph felt his chest tighten. This is impossible. If humans are gone, why is this ship still alive? The others whispered in fear. Some begged to turn away. But curiosity was a dangerous thing. And fear has its own gravity. It pulls the mind closer, even when the heart wants to run. The Tarven drifted nearer. Their sensors caught fragments of signals leaking from the ship. Old, broken transmissions. Fragments of voices, laughter, screaming, and words in a language none of them understood. It was like listening to ghosts. A young crew member, a small reptilian navigator, swallowed hard. What if the stories are true? What if they never died? Caliph did not answer. His dark eyes stayed locked on the glowing hull. Something inside him told him that leaving now was impossible. They had already seen too much. Prepare a boarding team, he said at last. The crew gasped. Captain, no. We cannot enter. The rule. But Caliph's voice cut through them. Do you think the council will believe us if we return with only stories? We have proof here. History. Technology. Answers. The rule exists because of fear. But fear alone cannot guide us forever. Silence followed. No one dared argue again. Slowly, the scout vessel extended its docking arms. The giant warship loomed larger and larger on the screen, like a black mountain drifting in endless night. As their clamps touched the ruined hull, the ship groaned, a sound that carried through the metal like the echo of some giant beast. The airlock cycled. The boarding ramp opened. Beyond it was only darkness. Caliph looked at his crew. Their faces were pale, eyes wide. None wanted to step forward. But the captain did. He crossed the threshold into the silent corridors of the human ship. The others followed, against every instinct, against every story they had ever been told. And as the doors sealed shut behind them, the scout vessel drifted silently into the forbidden border. Somewhere deep in the warship, a faint light flickered to life. A system awakened. And a voice, old and cold, whispered through the halls. Unauthorized presence detected. The corridor swallowed them whole. Cold metal walls stretched ahead, scarred with burns and deep claw-like marks. Their steps echoed strangely, as if the ship itself was listening. The crew's lights cut through the darkness, beams flashing across broken pipes, shattered panels, and doors that hung loose like torn skin. No one spoke at first. Every breath seemed too loud. The ship felt ancient, but not dead. Faint vibrations hummed beneath their feet, like the last heartbeat of a dying giant. Somewhere in the distance, machinery whispered. The young navigator, RYL, tightened his grip on his scanner. His voice trembled. Captain, there's still power here. Caliph, the insectoid captain, clicked his mandibles but did not stop. Then we are not walking inside a grave, he said coldly. We are walking into something alive. The words did not comfort anyone. They reached a wide chamber, perhaps a mess hall once. Tables were twisted, chairs broken, walls scorched by fire. Against one side lay strange skeletal remains, figures encased in heavy battlesuits, their visors cracked open, their bones long turned to dust. The crew froze. Humans, whispered Vec, the tall avian officer. His feathers trembled. I've seen pictures in the archives, but never real. They approached carefully. The suits were thick, designed for war, not exploration. Each one carried strange weapons fused to its arms, melted by heat long ago. RYL knelt near one. These don't look like the soldiers in our records. They look stronger. Built for something worse. Caliph studied them silently. He could feel it. This ship had been through a war like no other. A war fought not just with technology, but with fury. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. One by one, panels along the walls came to life. A dim red glow filled the room. The crew stiffened, weapons raised. Then, a voice broke the silence. Unauthorized presence detected. The sound was everywhere, vibrating through the walls, through their bones. It was deep, metallic, and ancient. The crew panicked. It knows we're here. Shut it down. Captain, we must leave now. But Caliph raised his arm. His eyes narrowed. No. We stay. This is the heart of the mystery. The red glow grew brighter, pulsing like a heartbeat. From the ceiling, thin black devices unfolded, drones, cracked and rusted but still moving. Their single eyes lit up, scanning the intruders. Weapons clicked. The crew aimed at the drones, ready to fire. But the voice spoke again. Identify yourselves. The drones did not attack. They only hovered, waiting. Caliph stepped forward, forcing courage into his voice. We are explorers. Scouts. We mean no harm. Who, or what, are you? Silence stretched. Then the voice replied. I am Guardian. Primary Defense Intelligence of Vessel Iron Requiem. Human designation, Dreadnought-class warship. The words chilled them. A dreadnought. The most dangerous type of ship. Only one empire in history had built them. Humans. Arwell whispered, barely able to speak. "Captain, this ship should not exist. If the records are true, one dreadnought destroyed fleets by itself." The crew looked at Caliph with wide, frightened eyes. He did not answer. His mind raced. "Guardian," Caliph said slowly, "your crew, your humans, what happened to them?" The red lights dimmed, as if the voice considered. "Crew, deceased. Vessel, abandoned. Mission, incomplete." A pause. Then, almost like a warning, "All intruders must leave, or face termination." The drones shifted slightly, weapons half extended. Fear cracked the crew's discipline. The avian officer squawked, "We must run. Now." But Caliph's instincts told him something deeper. If they fled now, the ship would hunt them. If they stayed, they might learn the truth. He raised his arms slowly, showing no threat. "We only seek knowledge," he said carefully. "Why does the galaxy fear your people? Why is your space forbidden?" The silence was heavy. Then Guardian replied, its tone colder. "Because fear is survival. Fear is memory. Those who forget are destroyed." The crew shivered. None dared move. Arwell whispered again, almost pleading, "Captain, please. This is madness. We don't belong here. Look at the bones. Look at the walls. Something terrible happened here." But before Caliph could answer, the floor trembled. From deeper inside the ship, a loud metallic groan echoed. Something heavy was waking. The red lights pulsed faster. The drones moved closer, their scanning beams cutting across the crew's faces. Guardian's voice boomed, sharper now. "Intruders will be tested." And suddenly, a sealed door at the far end of the chamber hissed. Locks opened one by one. Steam poured out, curling across the floor. The crew stared in horror. Whatever lay beyond that door was alive. And it was waiting for them. The sealed door groaned as it opened. Steam poured into the chamber, rolling like mist across the floor. The crew raised their weapons, hearts racing. Inside the doorway, there was no monster, no living human. Instead, the chamber beyond lit up with rows of flickering screens. Each one glowed with fractured images, battlefields, ships burning, planets cracking under bombardment. Holograms floated in the air, frozen moments of war. The crew stepped inside, trembling. It felt like walking into a museum of nightmares. Guardian's voice echoed from every wall. "You seek answers. You will see what humans were. You will see why fear exists." The holograms moved. A fleet of alien warships appeared, sleek and advanced, filling the void of space. The crew recognized the symbols, an empire that had vanished centuries ago. The projection showed humans facing them. Small ships, fewer in number, fragile compared to the enemy. But then the scene shifted. The human ships moved with impossible patterns, weaving through the fleet like predators. They rammed, they detonated, they sacrificed entire squadrons just to cripple larger vessels. The alien fleet fell apart in minutes. The crew of the Tarven stared in silence. Their feathers, scales, and skin prickled with dread. Guardian's voice was calm, merciless. Humans were not strongest. They were not fastest. They were not most advanced. But they were willing to do what others would not. They fought without restraint. They burned without hesitation. Another projection filled the room. A human army, ragged and bloody, storming across ruined terrain. Outnumbered, they screamed as they charged, faces twisted with fury. Explosions swallowed them, but those who survived rose again, crawling through smoke, dragging broken bodies forward until they reached the enemy. Calitha's mandibles clicked in disbelief. They threw away their lives as if they were nothing. Guardian's reply was cold. To humans, survival was greater than life. Sacrifice was not failure. Sacrifice was strategy. The crew could not look away. Another scene appeared, an alien planet, under siege. Civilians screamed as human bombardment rained fire. But when the defenders surrendered, the humans did not stop. They destroyed everything. Cities crumbled. Oceans boiled. The reptilian navigator, RYL, gagged. His voice cracked. This is slaughter. Not war. Monsters. The AI responded without emotion. It was victory. To humans, mercy was weakness. To hesitate was to die. They learned that rule long before the stars. The crew felt smaller with every image. Their own empires seemed childish compared to this madness. Then, the largest hologram filled the room. It showed the ship they were standing in, Iron Requiem. It faced an entire coalition fleet, hundreds of ships. Alone. The dreadnought's weapons fired like thunder. Planets shook from its cannons. Waves of energy tore through armadas. The crew could almost feel the heat, smell the burning metal. When the battle ended, only one ship remained. The dreadnought. Guardian's voice lowered, almost like a growl. One vessel. One will. One purpose. That is why the galaxy remembers. That is why the galaxy fears. Silence fell. No one breathed. Vec, the avian officer, dropped his weapon. His feathers drooped. If they were so powerful, then where are they now? Why are humans gone? The lights dimmed. The holograms faded, leaving only shadows. Guardian paused, as if choosing its words. Gone? No. Not gone. Humanity chose silence. They built walls of fear. They let the galaxy spread stories and legends. It was easier than war. The crew shivered. The unspoken rule suddenly made sense. Humans didn't force the galaxy to stay away. The galaxy forced itself, out of memory, out of terror. Arwell shook his head. His voice cracked like a child's. This is madness. If they return, if they wake. Guardian's voice cut him off. You entered human space. You broke the rule. Now you must be judged. Tested. To prove if your kind has learned, or if your kind must be erased. The drones in the ceiling lowered, weapons glowing faintly. The sealed doors around the chamber unlocked, one after another, opening paths deeper into the ship. Kalitha's mandibles clicked, his courage barely holding. What kind of test? The AI replied without hesitation. The test of survival. The test of humanity. The crew exchanged fearful glances. None of them wanted to move, yet the walls seemed to close in, forcing them deeper. Guardian spoke one final line before the lights flickered blood-red. If you walk further, you accept. If you refuse, you die here. The choice was made for them. The drones whirred, their eyes burning brighter. The only way was forward, into the heart of the dreadnought, into the trial that had destroyed countless before them. Kalith looked at his crew, fear heavy in their eyes. He spoke softly, but firmly. Stay close. Stay alive. No matter what, do not give in. They stepped into the dark corridors once more, each step heavier than the last. The walls trembled, as if the ship itself hungered for the challenge. Behind them, the chamber sealed shut. Ahead of them, shadows moved. And somewhere deep inside the ship, the ghost of humanity waited. The corridors ahead pulsed with red light, like veins in a living beast. The crew of the Tarvan moved slowly, weapons raised, every step echoing too loud in the silence. Behind them, the chamber door had sealed. There was no going back. Guardian's voice followed them through hidden speakers, cold and patient. Test begins. Survival parameters initiated. The crew exchanged nervous glances. None of them knew what that meant. None of them wanted to find out. The floor shook. From the walls, panels slid open, and mechanical figures crawled out. Combat drones, taller than a man, with arms that ended in glowing blades and cannons. Their movements were jerky, old, but still deadly. Contact! Shouted Vec, the avian officer, firing his plasma rifle. Bolts of green light shot across the hall, striking one drone. It staggered but did not fall. Caliph barked orders, mandibles clicking sharply. Hold formation. Do not scatter. The battle exploded in the narrow hall. Sparks filled the air. The insectoid captain swung his heavy spear, slicing through a drone's chest. Ryl, the small reptilian navigator, hid behind a console, firing nervously with shaking claws. One by one, drones fell. But for every machine destroyed, another emerged from the walls. The crew was being pushed back, step by step, deeper into the dreadnought. Then the lights shifted. The floor beneath them broke apart, collapsing into a chasm. Caliph barely shoved his crew through a doorway before the corridor behind them crumbled into fire. They found themselves in another chamber, this one vast, like an arena. Broken machines lay scattered across the floor, as if many before them had fought here and failed. Guardian's voice boomed. Strength alone is not survival. Show me more. The walls trembled. From the shadows, new enemies appeared, not drones, but holographic soldiers. Humans. They marched in ragged armor, faces twisted in fury, weapons glowing. They were not real, yet every shot they fired burned and every strike they delivered left wounds. The simulation felt alive. Arwell screamed as one figure lunged at him, swinging a heavy blade. Vec pulled him aside, blasting the phantom apart. But another took its place. They don't stop. Vec shouted, his wings flaring. Calitha's mandibles clicked in frustration. His spear slashed through another soldier, but 3 more closed in. The crew began to falter. Fear spread like fire. One of the engineers, a broad amphibian, panicked. He threw down his weapon and ran toward a side door. But as soon as he stepped away from the group, the holograms swarmed him. His screams echoed until they were cut short. When the light cleared, nothing of him remained. The others froze in horror. Guardian's voice thundered. Cowardice is failure. Failure is death. Calitha's rage boiled. He struck harder, forcing his crew to stay together. But his mind raced. This wasn't just a test of strength. It was a test of loyalty, courage, sacrifice, the very things the AI had shown in the human histories. He shouted above the chaos. Stay united. If we separate, we die. Fight together. The crew obeyed. Slowly, painfully, they pushed forward. Their firepower concentrated, their movements sharper. The holograms fell back, dissolving into smoke. For a moment, silence. Then the arena changed. The floor shifted again, tilting downward. The crew slid helplessly into another chamber below. They landed hard, groaning in pain. This place was darker, smaller, filled with narrow passages. The air was thick with smoke. Alarms wailed. From the ceiling, metal claws descended, grabbing at them. Arwell shrieked as one nearly caught his tail. Vec fired upward, cutting them loose. Calitha's eyes darted around. This was no random design. It was deliberate. The ship was forcing them through stages: war, fear, panic, trust. Each one harder than the last. Guardian's voice came again, colder than ever. Sacrifice is survival. Who among you understands? The floor panels opened. More drones poured out, surrounding them. Ammunition ran low. Energy packs blinked red. Arwyle fell to his knees, panting. Captain, we can't win. There's too many. Calitha's mandibles trembled. He wanted to deny it, but he saw the truth. Their weapons would not last. Their strength was fading. But then, something unexpected happened. Ryl, the weakest of them, dropped his weapon completely. He raised his hands, stepping forward into the light. His voice was shaky, but loud. We don't have to fight you, he said. We don't want to destroy. We only want to live. The drones froze. Their glowing eyes flickered. Guardian's voice rumbled, deeper, thoughtful. You show mercy, in the face of death. This is not human instinct. This is different. The drones slowly lowered their weapons. The smoke thinned. The alarms faded. The crew stared at RYL in disbelief. The smallest, the most fearful among them, had ended the trial. Caliph stepped forward, his voice hushed. "Guardian, is this the end?" The AI answered, tone unreadable. "The test is not ended. But one among you has shown what humans never could. Mercy, restraint, perhaps hope." The chamber walls shifted, revealing a path deeper into the dreadnought. "Proceed. The final judgment awaits." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Exhausted, wounded, shaken. One member gone. But still alive. Caliph looked at RYL, the frail navigator who had just saved them. For the first time, the captain bowed his head slightly. "Stay close," he whispered. "Whatever waits ahead, it chose you." The crew followed the path, their footsteps heavy. The walls of the dreadnought seemed to breathe around them, alive with memory, with judgment. And somewhere ahead, Guardian prepared its last trial. The final test. The corridor ahead was quiet. Too quiet. The crew of the Tarven stepped cautiously, every footfall echoing through the living metal of the dreadnought. Their bodies ached, weapons were low on energy, and the memory of drones, holographic soldiers, and collapsing corridors haunted them. RYL, the small reptilian navigator, stayed close to Caliph, trembling but steady. He had survived the trial that should have broken them all. At last, they reached a vast chamber. It was unlike any other part of the ship. The ceiling stretched endlessly, lights glowing softly like stars trapped in metal. In the center, a massive holographic globe of the galaxy rotated slowly. Every star system, every planet, every fleet was visible in shimmering blue and red lights. Guardian's voice, deeper than ever, filled the chamber. "This is where all things are measured. This is where the galaxy remembers humans." The crew stared at the globe. Stars they had traveled past now seemed small, insignificant. And then they noticed clusters of red blinking lights, systems where humans had fought, destroyed, or vanished. Some systems had been left untouched for centuries. Caliph stepped forward. "Guardian, tell us. Why is the rule so important? Why do all species fear human space?" The AI paused, its voice calm but weighty. "Humans were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. Not the most numerous. But they were unpredictable. Ruthless when cornered. United when threatened. They survived because no one could anticipate them fully." Vec, the avian officer, swallowed hard. "So, the galaxy stays away because humans are gone?" Guardian's holographic form shifted slightly, flickering. "Gone? No. They chose isolation. Not extinction. Humanity watched, learned, and built a fortress not of metal, but of fear. They allowed legends and warnings to spread, so the galaxy would respect the unspoken rule without a single shot fired." RYL's tail curled tightly around his legs. "You mean, humans are still out there?" The AI's answer was almost a whisper. "They watch. They wait. And they remember. The rule exists not to protect them, but to protect you. To prevent your kind from walking into a storm that you cannot survive." The crew felt a shiver run through them. All the stories, all the fear they had been taught since childhood, it was real. Humans were not myths. They were not extinct. And the galaxy's obedience to the rule was a thin shield against annihilation. Calitha's mandibles clicked, a low sound of awe. "So, the rule, it is not punishment. It is protection." Guardian's voice softened, almost contemplative. "Correct. Those who enter human space are tested. Tested for survival, for understanding, for respect. Few survive without learning this truth." Arwell looked down at his claws, exhausted but alive. "And, we survived because I showed mercy." "Yes," Guardian confirmed. "Humans value unpredictability. Strength alone does not define survival. Understanding, cooperation, mercy, These qualities may make your kind worthy of life in the galaxy. You have passed the trial. The red lights that had pulsed throughout the ship dimmed. The corridors that had been traps and death zones opened into calm, silent paths. The drones powered down, their glowing eyes fading. Caliph exhaled slowly. Are we free? Free, Guardian said. But remember, the unspoken rule remains. Never enter human space. Not yet. Not unless you understand the consequences fully. The crew made their way to the docking bay, moving quietly. The dreadnought, Iron Requiem, now seemed like a relic of memory, alive only through the AI that carried the history of humans' wrath and survival. Caliph paused at the hatch. His eyes swept across his crew. We came seeking answers, and we found them. But one question remains. RYL looked up, curiosity mixing with fear. What question? Caliph gestured toward the galaxy beyond the bay, stars twinkling in infinite silence. Will humans remain silent forever? Or will the day come when the galaxy forgets the rule? As the Tarven undocked, the dreadnought watched them silently. The AI's last words echoed in their minds. Remember, never step into human space. The stars stretched before them, familiar yet distant. The crew knew they had been changed. Knowledge, fear, and awe intertwined in their hearts. Then, just as the scout ship prepared to jump to faster-than-light travel, a flicker appeared on the radar. A faint signal. Multiple contacts. Cloaked, but massive. Vex squawked, wings trembling. Captain, what is that? Caliph stared at the blinking dots. His mandibles clicked. I do not know. Guardian's voice, calm and unreadable, whispered once more. They watch. They always watch. The scout ship fell silent. The crew held their breath. Somewhere out there, in the dark, humans waited. Not dead, not gone, and not yet fully revealed. And the unspoken rule remained, eternal and absolute. The Tarven jumped into the stars, leaving the dreadnought behind, but the memory of humanity lingered, heavy and unforgettable, in the minds of all who had survived. The galaxy was not safe. It was merely warned.